All right. Welcome to the February 25th, 2021 Parma City School District Board of Education meeting. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the
flag
of the
United States of America,
And to
and
the
to the
republic
republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Nucio.
Mrs. Bratz,
Present.
Mrs. Carpus,
Present.
Mr. Kreis,
Present.
Mr. Schweitzer,
Present.
Mr. Vaughn.
Present.
At this time, I'd like to confirm that all board members and administrators are connected to this meeting. So if each person would confirm that they can see, hear, or both when asked, please do so. Mr. Vaughn,
Both.
Mrs. Bratz,
Both.
Mrs. Carpus,
Both.
Mr. Kreis,
Both.
Dr. Smilak,
Both.
Mr. Nucio,
Both.
and John Schweitzer also is both. Dr. Smilak, can you please confirm that this meeting is currently being live streamed?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Board members and administration, if at any time during the meeting you cannot hear or see the other participants, please speak up immediately so that the technical difficulty can be addressed. Dr. Smilak, please monitor the live streaming throughout the meeting, and if the live streaming stops for any reason, please speak up immediately so that the technical difficulty can be addressed. This meeting will be conducted electronically in accordance with amended substitute House Bill 197 and House Bill 404, as more specifically detailed on the notice attached to tonight's agenda. With that, I move to adopt Resolution 2021-0290, resolution suspending requirement for in-person meetings under board bylaws.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2021-0290. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Nucio.
Mr. Schweitzer,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mrs. Bratz,
Yes.
Mrs. Carpus,
Yes.
Mr. Kreis.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-0290 has been approved. At this point, Dr. Smilak, is there information to the board?
Yeah, several things. First, I think everybody at this point is aware that we have a survey out right now to our parents about whether or not they feel that we should change our second semester plan for in-person learning. The original plan that we had presented in November had that we would not return not return to a 5 full days of in-person instruction unless we move to a yellow level on the county rating system. We have not moved to that, but at the same time, since we had that conversation and plan in November, certainly multiple variables have changed significantly. First being, research showing now that transmission in classrooms is very low. Certainly our own experience in our district, transmission is also very low. Secondly, a big wild card or variable in this has always been the availability of staff. Certainly, several weeks ago before our first vaccine, we were still having enormous difficulty covering classes and making sure that we had adequate staffing. That has helped quite a bit with the first vaccine. The second one comes March 8th. At that point, March 8th has a 2-week window. Once you receive a second vaccine, even though you've been fully vaccinated, once you actually would be exposed, you still have to quarantine for a period of 2 weeks. So once 2 weeks exposed ends, you no longer have to quarantine. Given those variables and given that we certainly always strive for a 5-day week, in all honesty, all obstacles at that point, the significant obstacles that we've faced have been removed. And so that is the reason for the March 22nd date. Some have pointed out that, in Cleveland.com, there's some comments about the fourth quarter, and ultimately we had the fourth quarter as a goal. A couple issues on the fourth quarter. First, those interviews, actually, one was given before the first round of vaccines. The second was given shortly after the first vaccine, in which we didn't know the quarantining rules. So it's really about the availability of staff. That's really the variable that has changed, and this is why we're looking at moving this up. Importantly, parents are an important factor here. Our staff had been a very important factor all the way through. The vaccines, certainly helped us to make sure we will have staff. At this point, we are largely considering our parents' opinions. We have that survey, and I really don't want to unveil results yet because it's still preliminary. The survey is open until tomorrow at 3 p.m. as of right now, right before I walked in here, we had 2,531 responses. So that's great. It's a great number of responses. We want to hear from everybody. Certainly, we have approximately 9,300 students, many, multiple families. Or multiple students from the same family. So we won't get 9,300, but the higher number that is certainly the more representative of our public that is. So we encourage people to fill that survey out, and that will be available again until tomorrow at 3:00. So we will make an announcement as soon as possible after that 3:00 deadline. We know that people want to know and people want to plan. And so that is the process that we will follow from here. Does the board have any questions about any of those proceedings?
No.
Not right now.
I'm just very happy that many people are responding.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's a good number. A real good number.
I know you mentioned that, we have a lot of kids in the same household, so you're not going to get 9,000, obviously. And I'm familiar with this particular one. How about where you have a student and it's two different households? Do both parents get to respond or only one?
We did actually. It's collecting one email address, and it's one response per email address. So it's possible that it would have went to two email addresses if that's what parents have submitted to us, in which case, both of them would have the email and they can both check.
Got it. All right, thanks.
So at this time then, and I appreciate, that time. And again, we look forward to reaching a finality soon here. At this point, then, we have on the agenda this evening an adoption of curriculum. It's always an exciting time for us. We're always making sure that we have the best resources possible for our students. And so Mrs. Stropko is going to introduce her process and also the final decision that we've reached in adopting a K-5 mathematics program. Mrs. Stropko?
Thank you, Dr. Smilek. So this evening, myself and Mrs. Zermatt, who is our administrative specialist for initiative implementation under our curriculum department, we have been working with our elementary math teacher leaders since the beginning of November to review materials. So tonight, we're going to present our recommendation for our K-5 math programming for the next 6 years. So our goals are to increase student achievement, but also to be fiscally responsible. And you're going to see at the end of the presentation how fiscally responsible we are with our costs compared to our last adoption. We also continue to take our teacher leaders through a very streamlined process, which we look at ODE, vendor, pieces, and then we follow a rubric. So we'll take you through what that looks like as well. So why do we need a new adoption? Our standards have shifted. Our last adoption was 2013. ODE revised our standards in 2017, and then 2018 were revisions to our assessments. We follow our district playbook. We are looking for materials that connect directly to read, write, and discuss for our instructional strategies. We want our kids to understand, to think critically, and apply concepts and skills to real-world problems. These were huge non-negotiables as we were going through this process. A clear and coherent curriculum is making sure that our curriculum materials are not only on a rotation, but we could sustain it. And we also need that comprehensive digital and print platform, which we've experienced all school year. And so we will talk about the components of this program next. So Mrs. Zermatt, you want to take them through the process?
Sure. All right. So as Mrs. Stropico stated, we use the same review process for the past year and a half. One of the great things about this process is that it really is a grassroots effort, meaning that the teachers, the leaders within who are going to be teaching with this and working with the students with this resource are the ones helping make the most important decisions. So we do start with the ODE approved vendor list, which notes who they are accepting as reasonable resources. We also use a research-based evaluation program from Ed Reports, and we look at the process in terms of what do we have for the resources available that are acceptable, and then we dive in deeper and deeper and deeper until we get a consensus. The ones that we looked at this time was actually quite a few, because our math adoption is very vital to sustaining success for our students. And with being K-5, we wanted a great foundation. So we looked at Houghton Mifflin into math, Curriculum and Associates Ready Classroom Math, Bridges Math, Savis Envision Math, and Cengage. So we started there and we continued through. One addition to the process that we started this time around was a technology review by our own district. With the need to have things working very well, both in school and at home with devices, we felt we needed to add in this layer for the review process to make it efficient and effective for our staff. So we can move on to the next slide, please. With a K-5 math adoption, obviously we're talking about multiple buildings and multiple teachers and students across our entire district. So we were able to bring in a great amount of teachers and able to have at least one representative from each grade level and a representative from every single school. We also included intervention specialists, gifted intervention specialists, lead psychologists, and our tech review from Online Curriculum Support Forum, as well as an administrative representative with the Dean of Students from Throw Park. So this brings us to our recommendation. After our process, it became known that Savis Envisions Mathematics was the leading resource that our teachers felt was best for both implementation for instruction, but also providing our students that understanding of math that goes beyond just the automaticity, but also brings that conceptual understanding. One big thing this program brings is the ability for students to understand math and do math in a real life purpose. So that engagement piece is constantly there, weaved in throughout the program. In the same sense, it also holds true to that same structure that we're trying to continue to embed, where it has teachers providing explicit instruction, where students are given guided practice and provided opportunities to have independent practice that is purposeful and engaging. So some of the key features of this program that really brought to light how we can kind of bring together both that conceptual understanding and engagement that we want for our students is first, the purposeful digital practice tools. More than ever, our teachers wanted tools that students weren't just playing games and trying to learn some skills, that the focus was on the skills while engaging students in authentic types of math concepts and problems. There are digital manipulatives that this program offers, so that when teachers, whether they're in the Parma Virtual Academy or providing instruction in class, their students can use these tools. They also have kind of engagement activities where 3-act math, which is evidence-based strategy that teachers can use to kind of bring in that real life concepts related to math. Also, it is fully integratable with Google Classroom and all of our Google Suite tools. Another component within this program that we really felt was a core feature was the clear routine and process that our students K-5 will be able to have the same instructional routine and framework that they will be seeing from kindergarten all the way up. This provides them time to talk about the math, understand the math, and apply the math in the same way every single year, but the concepts and the intent of the quality of instruction are going to remain the same, but we're going to provide them that layer of consistency to improve. And then the last thing that was something that we hadn't seen from any other of the components or resources was their ability to have family support and engagement. For each homework activity or practice, they have specific homework help videos that teachers or parents or students can scan and get these videos live to help them understand the concepts and reteach them. There are family letters that let the families know what they're learning, why they're learning it, and how they're going to be learning it. There also is an app that they can access this even if they do not have Wi-Fi at the time, and it'll sync back up when they return to Wi-Fi. And then the last thing is just more engagement with parents, providing them layers of support with a web page. So these were the many things that we thought would be beneficial.
So with our process, we have 4 points with feedback in consideration for our staff and our community. So all of our K-5 math staff and administration were invited to attend the top 2 choice presentations. This is typical for every adoption that we do. We had a total combined attendance of 40 staff members. We had print and digital materials available to staff and for public review. And then also for public review to provide feedback in a Google survey for both staff and community members. We had 39 responses for our staff, and 56% voted for Envisions. Now, the one thing I want to share, and I was part of this conversation, is there were 2 pieces that rose to the occasion, and the 2 top choices, all the teachers on the committee said, we love both of them. The thing that stood out about Envisions was that family engagement piece and the resources for our families. And so our staff felt as though that they could live with either one and love both programs. But the thing that made Envisions rise to that level was our family engagement component. So when we reach consensus, it means that we can live with this decision. And in the end, every single one, 100% believe that we could live with Envisions, and it's definitely what our students and our families need. Our community, we put that out. We rarely get feedback. But one of the responses that I wanted to share is that a parent said that their daughter previously enjoyed the adaptive practice site. So the adaptive piece is for our students that have learning gaps and our students that need that enrichment or that extended standard. So professional development is always a goal anytime we have a new adoption. We've been very creative this year with being able to have a remote professional development for all of our new adoptions. With this particular program, we get a total of 9 days, and it's included in our price. It can be broken up into live sessions, webinars, and then also a coaching model. There's other opportunities for teachers to be trained. What we typically do is after about a semester of implementation, we continue to gather feedback for where the gaps are and how we could best support. There's pre-recorded webinars, professional development materials on the website. There's ongoing support with collaboration time. And then we continue to bring our teams in to refine the pacing and our student learning outcomes. So it's ongoing and it's sustainable, and that's truly what professional development connected to curriculum needs to be, and that's our goal. So our 6-year adoption, and that's typical for all of our previous adoptions. This particular adoption is $400,022, $878.86. It comes with teacher materials and student materials that are both print and digital. Particularly our student materials, that's that consumable piece with the write-in text, and our kids get to keep. And then that digital learning platform that Amy addressed, which connects directly to our digital tools. We do have Classroom Math Center kits, and again, that professional learning support for the offline and the online component. This is directly budgeted within the general fund. Our elementary adoption was on a rotation, so this is a budgeted item that we anticipated. And then I want to point out the practice fiscal responsibility. So our last adoption was 2013, And we are saving $248,000. So this adoption is $248,000 less than what we spent back in 2013. So we are really looking at making sure that we have the best materials in our students, in our teachers' hands. This particular adoption has that family engagement component. And I believe we hit the mark with being fiscally responsible, with saving money compared to our last adoption. So we will open it up for questions from the board to myself and Amy, if you have anything you'd like to ask or address.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have one. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Go
no.
first. I'll go last.
Mine is always when you're doing, first of all, I trust the process, so I like the whole part about the process. But when you're doing a kindergarten through grade 5, my concern is always with the kids at the top, because they've gone through several years with the previous. Okay. So as you're moving into grade 5, you're going to be getting a whole new program. You're going to be going to a new school. You're going to be in middle school and stuff. How in sync will these kids be with what they've had in the past? And then the following year, they're going to what is currently the 6th grade, that is not being changed. So you get my question?
I do, and I can answer that. So with our adoption process, we always, since I've been in this role, we start with elementary. So next year, our rotation is secondary, so it's 6th grade through 12th. We always start with elementary because we want that vertical alignment. So right now we have CPM and college preparatory math, and we want to engage our secondary teachers in this process, possibly do some learning walks. So when they make the decision, those learning routines and the instructional routines and vocabulary align. So yes, our 5th graders are at the middle school, but we always pair that secondary adoption a year later, so we have that vertical alignment.
Okay, well, the first part was the grade 5, are they going to be struggling because they did something kindergarten through grade 4 and now this is different?
No, we were K-5 before.
I know. What I'm saying is,
Here, I'll ask it a different way. So
kid
like,
going into the 5th grade next year has done one math program, kindergarten through 4th. Now they're going to do a different one when they're in the 5th. I just want to make sure it's an easy transition. That's all I'm saying.
Go ahead, Amy.
I was just going to say, so both programs, whether our previous one with math expressions or this one, they're tied to the standards. So regardless, the scope and sequence and the alignment for the standards, we can pace out appropriately so that we're lining up. If for some reason the standard that they were supposed to get in 4th grade is different in this program, what they would get in 5th grade. So that's why we bring the team together to align the standards appropriately. So they should be just fine.
All right, that's the word I was looking for.
Okay. All right. So I have a question then. How does this transition into the high school math component? I mean, we have the CPM now. Is this program going to be able to allow the kids to transition easily to that program? So Bridget, as it might be, I think that was one of the options, was Bridges. Was that our second choice?
No, Bridges was not our second choice. Amy, you want to explain the second choice?
Yeah, the second choice was Ready Classroom Mathematics. So your question about the bridge from basically you're saying like the 8th grade,
right? To go to CPM
from 5th grade to 6th grade. Right. So regardless, kind of what Mrs. Stropko was alluding to, what we'll do at the end of this year, because we started with the elementary, is 6th grade is up for review next year. So we first have to see, are we going to continue with that CPM curriculum? And if we do, we need to update it anyway to the newer copyright.
Okay.
So there may be even adjustments within CPM and the way that they've done things because they're updated. But regardless, in terms of if you're talking like instruction and the routines, there's going to be a little bit of shift, but I would say that it's not as big as it has been currently, where math expressions was the extreme traditional sense, and envisions is the next layer where you're moving the kids a little bit more to that thinking conceptually. But so you're not going to see as even a big a gap. It's better than it was, even, is what I'm saying.
Right. Okay, well, thank you.
Tiffany and Amy, can you guys, and I know you talked about it, but can you talk about it again? So if I'm a community member at home and I've had some background teaching and I wanted to provide some input into, a textbook selection, how would I have gone about that? How do we advertise that? I can't remember exactly what we do. Can you just refresh us?
So we place the materials on our website. We also push it out through all of our social media. So it's on our website. It's usually on there for at least 3 weeks, and it's directly aligned with board policy and administrative guidelines. I believe it's on our main page, and so it's very accessible.
And it was pushed out, I think, just recently, the other day too, because I saw it, because Ms. Popick pushed it out a couple of times.
Thank you very much. And I just want to compliment you. First of all, I always believe, what matters is, are we going to be able to use it, and the teachers know how to use it, and the way you've gone about getting, all of that consensus and all of that input, that's how we make sure people use it, that there's buy-in. So thank you for that. Also, thank you for the fiscal responsibility piece. I mean, it's really, I think you said the last adoption was 2013.
Yes.
And so we're now $250,000 less than we spent 8 years ago now. So that really is an impressive number to me as well.
Quick question. Sorry. My question is, say a student's going from kindergarten to first grade, can the first grade teacher look back at their scores from kindergarten to identify areas that they might be behind or need a little extra help in? Like, does it carry over like that?
The data from within the curriculum, are you talking?
Yes.
I'm not sure if it goes with the student like that, but in addition to that, that's why we use AimsWeb and MAP. That goes with the child, and that's the instructional reporting that we do throughout. But in terms of access to material, these teachers also will have access to kindergarten through 5th grade material. So for example, if you have a student who needs that material based on whether it is what they're seeing in their classroom or in MAP or AimsWeb, they'll have access to get the kids' 5th grade material in 3rd grade if they needed to. So the teachers have access to the information, but not necessarily past test scores per se in that system.
Gotcha. But they could review something that they'd seen before, or if they need a little more challenging content, they can go forward. Okay. Exactly. Thank you.
Also, every March, for part of our professional learning, we always do ins and outs with the grade level before and the grade level after to have these conversations regarding pacing, and then reviewing the benchmark assessments for the kids coming in. So it's part of the process with our professional development district-wide.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Nope. None for me.
No, I think I'm good. My only other question would have been I don't know how to word it. Was I know the Bridges math thing was supposed to be pretty good and top notch. I was just wondering why we passed over that and these other two surpassed that, and what the feel was, I guess.
So
why it was better.
As far as Bridges and any of the resources, all of them were quality resources. One of the things that I do remember the committee saying about Bridges is that the implementation for Bridges requires an extensive amount of philosophy shift in instruction for math, teaching math. And I think the teachers wanted to focus on not just the instructional philosophy shift, but they also wanted the ability to focus on the content a little bit more and teaching that. And through the other programs, they felt like they wouldn't have to spend basically changing their whole entire math routine. I don't believe that they were wanting to make that shift just yet. And that the other programs melded both a little bit of an instructional shift with quality materials. I don't know if that makes any sense, but.
Good effort. No, it was good. I got it. Thank you.
I think it's well said. I think you explained it well. I mean, in terms of, hitting the ground running, so to speak, we're able to do that.
Right. All right. It makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Dermott. Thank you, Mrs. Stropko. That concludes my portion of the meeting this evening.
No more information to the board, Dr. Smilak?
That is all, sir.
All right, Mrs. Carpus, communications, you're up.
Yes, I have a couple of things real fast. Pam, did you let Reno in?
They are joining right now.
Okay, is Donna in?
Yes, she's joining as well.
Perfect. Okay, so before we go into them, I just wanted to touch base. So Sword and Shield had their super soup sale today, and the level of organization is wonderful. The food was wonderful as always. Those students are incredibly talented, as is the staff over there, and it was just wonderful. For anybody who missed out on this one, you can go to the district's website and see the link. If you just scroll and look for the corned beef sandwich and the cupcakes, they have their St. Patrick's Day sale, which is pre-ordering right now. Also, if you haven't ordered your tickets yet, March 5th for the pierogi dinner, you can go online and order those. Other than that, we have a very special guest, two very special guests tonight, and I will let, I guess, Reno kick it off.
What, you want me to start?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, I wasn't sure you could hear me. My name is Reno Canapelli. I'm the Ohio School Board Association's Northeast Regional Manager. And every year we give out something called the President's Award. It is for a board member or a superintendent or somebody who's worked in public education that has dedicated their life to public education. And when they leave public education, they made it better. And unanimously, we couldn't think of a better person this year, the 2021, to go to Karen Dendorfer. I first met Karen Dendorfer back in the mid-90s when I was a board member just up north from you guys in Cuyahoga Heights. Karen she spent 32 years on your board, but she spent at least 25 years with the Ohio School Boards Association in some type of role. She was on our legislative platform committee for years, which is probably the single most important document that OSBA does, because they use that document to bond all 700 public schools into our lobby school into Columbus. She was instrumental in that. She was my partner for a few years going to Washington, D.C. to lobby on Capitol Hill. She would make sure that Parma and Cuyahoga County got their fair tax dollars for all the federal funding that we got. She was the regional president back, I think, in 2017 when you guys were able to host a spring conference. I don't know if you remember that, that event. And she was on the executive committee, the trustees committee, and just anything else. And if you knew Karen, she fit the description of the President's Award. She was dedicated, trustworthy, hardworking, and we got to know her and John like family. She was literally family to us. And it was kind of a sad when we found out that she was no longer a board member for Parma, and we wish her all the luck in the world and health in the world. And I just wanted to be able to show you the plaque that we got her, that we will honor her on Wednesday through a Zoom. I don't know if you guys can see this, but we hope to present this, or you guys hopefully, to the Parma schools one day when the world gets back to normal. But this is the plaque that we will give her that makes her the 2021 President's Award for the Ohio School Board Association Northeast Region. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's very nice.
Thanks for coming and doing that. Really nice.
Not a whole lot I can say to add to that list that you just read, but as three of us came into the board, I mean, it's a fairly new board overall, quite honestly. And Karen was extremely, extremely helpful in helping me along as board president that first year on do's and don'ts and so on and so forth. And, she did it with such a great sense of humor and, nothing to make you feel bad like you were a dummy or something like that. She's just been marvelous throughout all the years that she's been on the board. So thank you for that, giving her that award.
Thank you for having me.
We are going to give her husband, John, and Donna, her daughter, and I see maybe a granddaughter in the picture. I can't really see. Oh, we can't hear you, Donna. Uh-oh, are you muted?
I don't know, am I?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Heard that.
I don't think I am.
No, you're
We
good
can hear
now.
you now.
You're good now.
Oh,
So it's with her daughter and my dad.
Hey, you're breaking up.
can you come real close to the screen where you're at? When you step back, it breaks up.
Okay. On behalf of my family, we really appreciate, Rena, I think it's very honest, I know a good bit of her vintage gone for the rest of her family, and my dad's sitting here too. So we really appreciate this honor for her. Dad?
Yeah, Reno. It's just too bad Karen doesn't really know what's going on. She's been here under hospice care for the last month and a half, and it's just downhill for her.
Okay, John, you're in our prayers, and everybody at OSBA is just praying for her.
Well, thank you.
So
On behalf of the family, thank you very much.
Well deserved.
absolutely.
Absolutely well deserved. She's
I want-
awesome.
I want to read something really quickly. I was going to recap the cards that we had made for her when we dedicated the boardroom, but as I was going through some of her stuff that was delivered here to the board office, I found this, which was her PTA resume from October 1990, and on the back is her candidate's night speech from 1995. And I just want to read the first little bit of it. And it says, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and fellow candidates. I would like to tell you why I, Karen Dendorfer, am a candidate for the Parma Board of Education. I believe in children. I feel as a parent and taxpayer, I have a commitment to give not only my children, but all children the best possible education. The children of our communities are our future. Now more than ever, parental involvement is important to the education of our children. One of 6 national education goals is by the year 2000, all children will come to school prepared to learn. Parents are the first teachers of children from birth to 5 or 6, but involvement can't stop at the doors of the school they enter. It must continue through graduation. And I will also add, it takes the entire community to help with the education of children." And I firmly believe that she spent her entire career as a board member working towards those goals. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And that is all we have for communication tonight.
All right.
Great to see you guys. John, hang in there. Good to see you.
Whole family, take care.
Thanks, bye, John.
The rest of the meeting, that's kind of a hard act to follow.
That's for sure.
As we move forward here, but we shall. Do we have any amendments this evening?
Oh,
We have a
Mr.
treasurer's report.
Treasury report.
Treasurer, I'm sorry.
First.
Yes. So the auditors are wrapping up our audit for the fiscal year 2020, and they have indicated that we do not have any citations in the reports, and there's no management letter. They're still finishing up touches, and they're going to submit their report to the Auditor of State's office, which will take a couple weeks for them to approve it, and then they release it on their website. And once that happens, we will post it to our website. I just want to give you an update of what's going on with our audit.
So how come you're not doing cartwheels like back there? Because I got to tell you, when I read your email that literally said that's the highest, cleanest marks we could get, I wanted to do cartwheels, and I am not a gymnast.
And I hope everybody's hearing that. That is just outstanding.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thanks, but
Good job.
I expect to get that unqualified opinion every year. We don't, we're doing something wrong.
Right.
Well, that is why you're here, and we're trying to keep you here for as long as humanly possible, because you are wonderful at your job. You hit the ground running on day one and have never slowed down. So we truly appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm with Amanda. I was ecstatic when I saw that this morning. And, you know, we need everybody to understand what that means.
Can I just weigh in here too? You know, this is the 5th time I've gone through this. It's my 5th year as a superintendent. Management letters are really pretty innocuous. Management letters aren't findings of significant fault. They're really advice from the auditors to try to, influence you more towards a best practice. And that's routine. Everyone gets a management letter. To not get a management letter, that's like, you didn't just make all your shots. All your shots were 3-pointers. I mean, that's really a phenomenal accomplishment. I've never seen it before. Again, management letters you don't typically get real shaken by, because you just, okay, thanks, and you try to improve your practices. So to not get essentially any findings of, hey, can you do this a little better? I mean, that's just, I'm amazed. Congratulations, Sean.
Thank you.
Definitely is the unicorn, and that makes me very happy.
Great job, Sean.
I'm patting
Thank
you
you.
on the back there.
Glad to have you.
Thanks.
Are
Okay,
you blushing?
Of course.
That's just a glare off the light.
there's a red light on top of them there. Isn't it? Do we have a PTA council report this evening?
We do. Monica Abbott, she'd have to unmute herself.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
My name is Monica Abbott, and I am the treasurer for Parma Council. So get this started on Wednesday, February 24th. PCPTA distributed scholarship packets to the sponsors throughout the district. The next step in the process is for the sponsors to evaluate and rank their scholarships. And before we know it, we'll be awarding scholarships to many of the deserving seniors. So that's going to be exciting. Earlier this month, we hosted another raffle basket fundraiser with all monies given to our community scholarship program. So thank you to all who participated with that. March, I believe, 9th to the 11th, Heather and Melissa will be attending the National PTA Virtual Legislative Conference. Traditionally, this event is hosted at the Capitol, but this year, virtually, they will be able to meet with members of Congress and staff and attend workshops on many different topics focusing on PTA advocacy. All right, at our March 10th evening Parma Council meeting, we will vote to elect the following as the 2021-2022 Parma Council PTA officers. As president will be Melissa Wolf, first vice president Monica Abbott, second vice president Alicia Farkas, third vice president Sharon Bomba, corresponding secretary Delina Zingales, recording secretary Annette Spatrino, and treasurer Heather Akechi. All right. Parma Council PTAs will hold its annual PTA Founders Day celebration on Wednesday, March 24th via Zoom. At this event, we celebrate the legacy and work of our founders. We honor and recognize past unit presidents, as well as anyone that has received the Ohio PTA Achievement, formerly the State Life, or the National PTA Achievement Award. We will also be hosting another scholarship basket raffle online. The Ohio PTA Convention is scheduled for June 11th through the 12th. This year it will be presented virtually, and the Parma Council is inviting one member from each unit to attend on council expense. With the convention being virtual, the expense is only $15 an attendee, and we really hope that we have many PTA members from Parma in attendance this year. Parma Council is currently working on awarding our Helping Hands and T and PTA award. Each year, units can nominate a certified staff member for the T and PTA award who is involved with the PTA, has a positive impact on our children, and is dedicated to the mission of the PTA. These people who go above and beyond their job duties, both in and out of the classroom. The Helping Hands Award is awarded to a PTA volunteer who steps up to help the PTA and is there every step the PTA takes willingly and able to support the mission of the PTA. We usually invite the recipients to our spring dinner, and plans are in the works. And annual training sale begins March 29th and runs through the first week of May. So please consider purchasing your flowers and plants with us, as all proceeds go towards our scholarship fund. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Oh,
Okay,
thank
any
you.
other communications this evening? Do we have any amendments?
We do not.
Okay, then at this point, we open the meeting to the public to address the board on tonight's agenda items. And my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, we have 2 requests, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And I will read those verbatim. And they're both fairly lengthy, so bear with me as we go. The first is from Carrie Hall, 8455 Chesapeake Drive, Sagamore Hills, Ohio. I have watched the board work session in regard to our Pleasant View daycare and still feel blindsided. While I'm grateful that the board decided to remove the abolishment of the Pleasant View daycare from the board agenda on the 11th, I'm disappointed in the complete lack of transparency involved. Families were not notified that this change was being added as a resolution. Though I do not blame the board for this, we were not given time to sort through what this means, and we were only given this extended window now to research and ask questions because of what was deemed as a, quote, emotional response to circumstances known only at the 11th hour. This change would have enormous effects on the lives of real people in this community. It is disappointing that such a consequential decision was going to be made without all involved parties being made aware of the plans. As I watched the work session, my heart grew heavy because it seems minds are made up and the decision is being made without really exploring alternative solutions. There are many benefits to having this daycare other than the convenience it gives teachers. I strongly encourage you to consider other possible changes so that this long-lived program can remain fruitful. The passionate responses you receive pleading for you to reconsider this route are hopefully an alarm to what's at stake for those of us who depend on this program and a call to action to consider all avenues before settling for the easiest solution. A point was made that surrounding districts lack a similar program as if that makes ours disadvantageous. On the contrary, having a 4-star step up to quality daycare and preschool in Parma is an amazing feat and selling point for our district. What could it possibly matter if a similar program is not offered in other districts? It is an amazing achievement for Parma, which differentiates it from districts around us. Other programs have options for 10 or 12-month childcare or even offer short leaves of absence for those who are teachers. Why not model our program after one like Bay Village districts? University Hospitals Parma Daycare or Holy Family who offer this type of care. Also, from my understanding, there are still 2 unused rooms at Pleasant View. If we could expand First Step with those unused rooms while changing the daycare program to a 12-month program marketed to Parma families, we could then maintain an exceptional daycare that distinguishes Parma schools and provide a place for working Parma families to send their children. It was also suggested we don't have an obligation to serve this population. I feel this is a flawed point of view. Half of these families are Parma families. Whether the children live within district or not, these children in this daycare program also serve as peer models for many students with special needs in the First Step program. As someone who has worked with special needs students, I know this need for peer models is great. I am also disheartened that it was not made clear that the amazing daycare employees who are being offered other jobs would be taking a great pay cut. They have dedicated their lives and careers to working with and advocating for our youngest, most vulnerable children. They have done an extraordinary job connecting with families and creating a community. Now their only consolation are jobs unrelated to their years of service and experience for diminished pay. If you do ultimately intend to close this daycare, please take time to consider what it means for this wonderful, dedicated, loyal group of individuals who have done so much for so many. They deserve as much consideration as you can give them. Thank you again for taking time to consider the weight of this decision. I do not envy your positions. You are charged with, in my opinion, one of the greatest responsibilities, making decisions that affect the education of young children. I understand the weight of those decisions, but in this case, you are also making a decision that will affect people's livelihoods. I know that unpopular decisions sometimes must be made. I hope this is not one of them. This is an important program, and it needs a voice to share its impact and make sure every path of possibility exhausted. These ladies deserve that courtesy. Thank you again for allowing me to take up some of your time. Carrie Hall. Kathleen Pektik, Petkac, 7642 Allen Parkway, Middleburg Heights, Ohio. Excuse me a second. I have crummy lighting here in case you haven't noticed. That's that's part of the problem I'm having. I had the opportunity to watch the work session live and have continued to replay it many times since. First, thank you for taking the time to read all the emails and respond to them that came through. Second, there were many questions answered at the board works meeting, but I still feel many have not been answered. A lot of emotions came out in my previous email. I really focused on how much the staff and the facility means to my family personally. Yes, we all agree that the staff is amazing at what they do, and it's not the reason for closing the center. If you know what amazing things these educators are doing every day for the education of our children, then why do I feel like more is not being done or hasn't been done to continue to keep this amazing facility in our district? Please share the ideas or options that have been discussed in the last 5 years to help keep Pleasant View Child Care Center as a part of the Parma City School District. For example, what options have been discussed to attract Parma City School District families to other teachers in the district to want to use this child care center beyond the website and word of mouth advertisement? Has there ever been a survey sent out to families in the Parma City School District about an interest in utilizing the child care center? Communicating and collecting information about the possibility to run a 12-month center, run a center for 10 months but not closing on school breaks, collecting a non-resident rate for those who do not live in Parma, which includes myself, etc. As an educator and a parent, I understand and agree that the development of the new rooms for First Step to continue to meet the needs of the students currently and in the future is necessary. It was stated in the work session that there are 15 students who access the scholarship program and attend other facilities throughout Northeast Ohio, costing the district $283,000. The rooms that were a part of the proposal mentioned one room for intensive behavioral therapy room and one room for a self-contained full-day classroom. It states 6 students occupy for the full-day classroom. If the district offers a full-day classroom, are only 6 of the 15 students being able to be served in the district? How is this saving money if the district is still paying for the other 9 students to continue to attend private facilities? Yes, it is saving us less than the $283,000 mentioned previously, but what is the district proposing to continue to decrease that amount? Have you communicated with these 15 families about the possibility of offering a full day option, and if there is any interest? If the implementation of a full day classroom becomes a reality, what is the next step the district will take to ensure these families continue the child's education in the Parma City School District? Parents do have a right to choose whether or not they want their child to attend Parma City School District, whether identified or not. Parma is one city with a variety of schools, from parochial to chartered schools, that give families the opportunity to choose what they think is best for their children. One of the board members made the comment about how the center is one of 4 in the area that carries a 4-star step up to quality rating. I chose to send my child to Pleasant View Daycare because of the 4-star rating. For me, I did not sign up for the luxury and the convenience the center brings to teachers. I chose the center for the education that my children would receive based on the guidelines and expectations put forth by Step Up to Quality. I expect that my children receive the same quality education that I put forth in my own classroom from the time they are 6 weeks old until they receive their college diploma. Early childhood education is the foundation of our educational system. Nothing has ever been built from the top down. We build from the ground up, and that begins with the education of our infants, whether that is at home, with parents, or at a child care center. Pleasant View Child Care Center is a great foundation right here in our district. Many students in our community are not attending or receiving a quality preschool education, which then they struggle when they start kindergarten in the district. Find a way to get these parents into the Parma City School District by starting them in preschool, which then encourages them to continue in the district into kindergarten and so on. Parents search for their first home, forever home. etc., based on the quality of the school district, and they do this when their children are at the elementary age. Many don't want to move or change schools while their children are in elementary school because they know how hard it is academically, socially, etc., on their child. Make them want to stay in the Parma City School District by having Pleasant View be the starting base. Then work on improving the elementary schools to give families what they want and need to stay in the district. It needs some restructuring that may make a huge profit. Holy Family Childcare, Parma Education Center, Glenview Center in Bay Village and Fairview Park have made a way to take their centers and accommodate parents whether they are a teacher or not. I personally have worked with 2 out of the 4 centers. They may not publicly advertise or announce their accommodations or allowing parents to choose a 10-month payment program to accommodate summers off. Allowing parents to schedule ahead of time what days they will be attending and paying for due to school closures, etc. This can be a profitable piece for the Parma City School District. If you want it to be, I feel as though you are only focusing on the negatives and all the foreseeable negatives, but not a single positive of what the center can bring profitably to the district. Open up communication and ask the staff, ask the parents, and ask your families in the Parma City School District questions and suggestions that could help Pleasant View Center become something great instead of just pulling the plug on never knowing what it could be. Thank you. Kathleen Petke. So that's the end of the 2. We will provide a response, correct? Everybody hear me?
Yes.
If anybody has any comments now, otherwise we will provide a response according to board policy.
I'll provide a few comments, actually. I understand the passion for the center. I mean, we held a work session last week to address really the why, and I think we had a very thorough work session. And I don't necessarily want to, rehash the entire piece, but what it really came down to was when we really look at our resources and our assets, we ultimately were over-serving, a population that we're not mandated to serve, and then underserving by not utilizing some of the space at First Step and some of our resources, a population that we do have to serve. And I'm not, please, I don't want to be crass or rude or disrespectful, because all of the people who took time to write, I greatly respect that. And I always want transparency and openness, and communication is important. But, and I just double checked with Sean and Pam, that none of these were actually Parma residents. They were our staff members or staff that works there. And we respect that. But ultimately, we serve Parma families. And right now, again, we're overcharging. We've used money from extended daycare to subsidize what we were providing at the daycare at Pleasant View. So I appreciate all of the suggestions that people are making, but ultimately we've taken into account those factors as well, and feel that with the 4 rooms that we'll be able to add to our First Step programming, we will be able to better serve Parma families. And it's a difficult reality at times, but ultimately that's our charge. Our charge is not to provide daycare for our employees. Our charge is to be the best possible programming we can for Parma families. So we stand by the resolution that's on the agenda tonight.
Thank you. There are no further requests, so I'll move forward. I move to adopt resolutions 2021-02, resolution 2021-0292, approval of the written record of proceedings from the February 11th, 2021 regular and February 18th, 2021 special Board of Education meetings.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for resolution 2021-0292. Any questions or comments? Mr. Nucio?
Mr. Schweitzer,
Yes?
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mrs. Bratz,
Yes.
Mrs. Carpus,
Yes.
Mr. Kreis.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-0292 has been approved. Page flipper. That brings us to curriculum with Mr. Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Schweitzer. I move to adopt resolution 2021-02-93, approval of adoption of kindergarten grade 5 mathematics.
Second.
We have a motion and second for 2021-02-93. Questions or comments? Mr. Nucio?
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Kreis,
Yes.
Mrs. Bratz. Mrs. Bratz?
Cindy,
Yes.
I think hers is frozen.
Oh, okay.
I think
Mrs.
you did.
Carpus?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I must have frozen.
Mr. Schweitzer?
Yes?
Yes, yes, yes.
We got you, Cindy.
Have we hit all five?
Okay.
She voted too many times.
I think it was 12-0.
I believe resolution 2021-02-93 has been approved.
Resoundingly.
Thank you. I move to adopt resolution 2021-02-94, the elimination of the Parma City School District Pleasant View Preschool Child Care Program effective June 10th, 2021.
We have a motion and second for 2021-02-94. Are there further questions or comments or concerns on this particular resolution?
I have something.
I think
Yeah.
that Charlie covered that earlier in response to the letter of my question and comment for that, and I appreciate that. So with that, I'm good. So go ahead, Amanda or Cindy.
Go ahead, Cindy.
I thank all of the many people that reached out to us with their thoughts and comments on this particular program. Clearly, it is an outstanding program that serves children well. I'm very disappointed that, we might not be able to offer it. The board has asked many questions of the administration. And I thank Dr. Smilek for holding the work session last week to address those many questions and explain to us how the decision was made to not continue this program anymore. It's still highly disappointing to me, and I'm hopeful that someday in the future we might be able to offer this again if we have the room and the resources to do so, because it's certainly something that serves children well. And kudos and many thanks to the outstanding staff there that has served these children in their preschool years.
As many of you guys probably know, my daughter Guinevere went through First Step for 3 years and daycare for a year. So I know these people personally. I spent time on the phone with some of the parents. They've become friends over the years, and I needed to wholeheartedly feel this decision with everything. I needed my heart and my brain to be in sync. So I did a little bit of research, and I came to a document from 2011. It was special education information. And in 2010, 2011, special education goals, one of them was to investigate the cost and prepare a plan to consider returning special education students served in out-of-district placements to attend schools or facilities located within our Parma City schools. And I thought long and hard about that because ACES was 10 years in the making, 3 superintendents, several board members. I couldn't even begin to count how many. And I thought some of the things we heard in the letters and I heard from people very similarly mimicked or mirrored what we heard when we started ACES. And with that, I want to just leave everyone with a quote that real change, enduring change happens one step at a time. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg said that. And I think that very fittingly applies here, that we know we need to serve our children better. And this is the first step to doing that, as painful as it might be. And it doesn't diminish any work that anybody has done over there. And it doesn't, diminish the care those kids need that they're getting over there. But this is I believe this is what's right.
Thank you. I echo what's basically been said. I think the Ginsburg quote's probably a good way to, move on with that. Just it's a wonderful program, and nobody's arguing that. And it's, we just need at this particular point to emphasize a different program and to move in a different direction. And unfortunately, as one of the letters said, sometimes that's a rough decision and it's hard to make, but it has to be made. And that's what we're doing this evening. So anybody else? Okay, Mr. Nucio?
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Kreis,
Yes.
Mrs. Bratz,
Yes,
Mrs. Carpus,
Yes.
Mr. Schweitzer.
Yes, resolution 2021-0294 has been approved.
Unless another board member has anything to discuss, this will conclude curriculum for this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vaughn. Business, Mr. Kreis?
There are no agenda for the business meeting tonight. If anybody has anything to say, please say it now.
How about finance?
Finance? On the next page here, let me get there. I move to adopt resolution 2021-02-95, approval of supplemental appropriations.
Second.
Motion and second for 2021-0295. Questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, Mr. Nucio, can you tell us about number item fund 507? That's a pretty big number there.
507 is related to the bill that the Congress passed at the end of December. So our allocation for the care funds, which they call ESSER, is $9.9 million. We have until September of 2023 to use all these funds. And Ms. Plageman is coming up with a plan along with Mrs. Stropko and Dr. Smilik and myself as to how we are going to spend those funds. But we're putting it on for the appropriations so we can start spending the money. But it's probably going to take a while to spend almost $10 million.
Yeah, can I point out too, and I like the question. There was a question from a resident, can't you apply this to the bond issue? And we cannot. There are very clear parameters on how we can spend this money, specifically tied to really closing the gap that may have become exacerbated by COVID. So while we appreciate the suggestion, that is not legal for us to actually use it for any other function than to actually focus on remediating some difficulties our students may have because of COVID.
All right, that was going to be my question for you, Dr. Smilik. I'm glad you brought that up. Was that money, where is it going to be spent? Or where can it not be spent?
We are in the midst of, and I don't want to steal anybody's thunder because we'll have this presentation soon in March.
Okay.
We're in the midst of planning some very exciting opportunities for our families and for our students, really K through 12. And so we're excited for the opportunities we'll offer. But again, we're going to detail that a little bit better before we actually unveil it. And certainly it's due to the governor by April 1st.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Nucio?
Mr. Kreis,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mrs. Bratz. She may have frozen.
yes,
There we go.
Mrs. Carpus,
yes,
Yes.
Mr. Schweitzer.
Yes, resolution 2021-0295 has been approved. Is that it, Mr. Kreis?
Unless another board member has anything to discuss, this concludes finance for this evening.
Our legislation, Mrs. Carpus?
I do. I was trying to pull it up right now. Actually, while we were in the meeting, I had a couple questions from some residents. So it looks like it does not, I do not believe that they have voted yet. From what I'm hearing, it looks like they might vote tomorrow on Senate Bill 37. But that's not to be confused with the federal piece that President Biden put out, which was that he is still requiring school districts to do federal testing, that there is a difference between the federal testing and the state testing. And the state testing is still in play. I don't know how hopeful I am about that, but it is still there, and I believe the vote is tomorrow, but my phone won't load. But that's not to be confused with the president's order, which won't hold school districts accountable for those test scores, but they're still mandating us to take them.
Yes, ma'am. I know.
That's it.
And quite a week going back and forth with these things. Any other legislation?
No, that was really it.
Thank you. Mrs. Bratz, Human Resources. Oh, boy.
Who's freezing?
Thank you, Mr. Schweitzer. I move to adopt resolution 2021-0296, approval of the following certificated exhibits: confirmation of stipend amounts, approval of certificated non-compensated leaves of absence, confirmation of supplemental appointments, confirmation of substitute administrative appointments.
Second.
Motion and second for 2021-0296. Any questions or comments? Mr. Nucio?
Bratz,
Yes.
Mrs. Carpus,
Yes.
Mr. Kreis,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Schweitzer.
Yes, 2021-0296 has been approved.
I move for the adoption of resolution 2021-0297, elimination of career assessment coordinator position.
Charlie, Pat, can somebody just give a brief?
Well, I need a second first.
97, 98,
I
90.
said it. Is
Okay.
it not coming through? Here.
It was late.
Mrs.
Sorry.
Carpus, did you second?
I did. I think I'm getting like a delayed, like I can see you guys all look up after Cindy talks, but I'm still hearing her for like another 2 or 3 seconds. So I think it's just a little bit delayed.
They're in a bunker.
Anyway, I do have a comment on this one. It's again, 97, 98, 99. The next 3 resolutions, I believe, are all tied together, where we're eliminating a couple of things and adding a new title with an actual job description. If somebody could just like take a second to talk about all 3, then it makes sense. It makes sense as we go through them.
Yes, this is really not even a reduction in personnel. It's just shifting around of responsibilities. All of the functions that are entailed in these positions will continue to be a part of that. I will say that one of the significant adds to the position that you eventually will adopt the job description of is the administration of 504 plans, which has been really a burden on our counseling staff. Our counselors are under more and more and more demands. And, every year it seems that the state comes out with another, success plan, graduation plans that all have to be administered by counselors. And as we looked at, the body of work and the pie that has to be carved up into pieces somehow, we can't keep feeding the same pieces to the same folks. So all of this is a shifting of responsibilities. It is not addition or subtraction of staff. This will allow for the adoption of 504s by the folks who used to hold these positions.
All right, thank you. That's what I want. Just so everybody understands, 97, 98, 99 are all kind of tied in together, even though we're doing them one at a time here. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Nucio?
Mrs. Bratz,
Yes.
Mrs. Carpus,
Yes.
Mr. Kreis,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Schweitzer.
Yes, 2021-0297 has been approved.
I move for the adoption of resolution 2021-0298, elimination of transition coordinator position.
Second.
A motion second for 2021-0298. Questions or comments? Mr. Nucio?
Mrs. Bratz,
Yes.
Mrs. Carpus,
Yes.
Mr. Kreis,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Schweitzer.
Yes, 2021-0298 has been approved.
I move for the adoption of resolution 2021-0299, creation of high school access coordinator position and adoption of job description.
Second.
A motion second for 2021-0299. Questions or comments? Mr. Nucio?
Mrs. Bratz,
Yes.
Mrs. Carpus,
Yes.
Mr. Kreis,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Schweitzer.
Yes, 2021-0299 has been approved.
I move to adopt resolution 2021-02-100, confirmation of certificated administration appointments.
Second.
A motion and second for 2021-02-100. Questions or comments here?
Know that Mr. Hoy has an introduction, but I think he'd probably like to do that afterward.
Yeah, we'll do the voting first.
Yeah.
Mr. Nucio?
Mrs. Bratz,
I think that's me, yes.
Mrs. Carpus,
Yes.
Mr. Kreis,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Schweitzer.
Yes, 2021-02-100 has been approved. It's all yours, Pat.
Thank you, board members. Thank you, Dr. Smilek. I'd like to take a moment to introduce Dr. Schneider to those that don't know him. Dr. Schneider entered the district in 2003 as a social studies teacher at Parma Senior High. During this time, he completed his master's degree in administration with an emphasis on business manager and treasurer, completing an informal internship for business manager with the Parma City Schools and Mentor Public Schools. In 2012, Carl accepted a position as assistant principal at Valley Forge High School while completing his doctorate in educational leadership. Carl also served as an assistant principal at Shiloh Middle School before taking over as the principal at John Muir Elementary. During 5 years as principal at John Muir Elementary, the school received bronze and then silver status from the Education Service Center for the implementation of positive behavior intervention supports. The school report card also improved from a D to a B during that time. Carl was the building level administrative representative during the most recent contract negotiations with PEA, and he successfully contributed to the district staffing process last year while completing his superintendent's licensure and internship. Dr. Schneider has served the Parma City School District in various roles, demonstrating successful leadership as an administrator for all grades K through 12. Dr. Schneider has confirmed his ability to work collaboratively with a range of stakeholders and has served with a continued focus on what is best for students while striving towards the district's 3 goals. Those that know him or have had the privilege of working with him describe him as a man with drive, intellect, and superior organizational skills. Congratulations, Dr. Schneider, on your new appointment. Dr. Schneider, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to thank the board. I'd like to thank Dr. Smilek and Mr. Hoy also for that introduction. Thank you for this opportunity. The duration of my career in the Parma schools, I'm deeply committed and invested in the district and the success of our students. I've been honored to serve here, and I'm honored to take on a new and expanded role. I'm confident that my K-12 experience will help our operations departments to continue to improve in terms of how successfully we serve our buildings, our students, and our families. We've made some great progress under our current leadership in improving communication and transparency, working collaboratively with our union leadership, being fiscally responsible, and even reallocating resources and support to the building level where those resources can more directly impact students. So I'm eager to contribute to this work and our district goals on a larger scale. Again, thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Yes, welcome aboard.
Well,
Dr.
welcome to the new position. You've been aboard.
If I could say just a few words, we're extremely excited to add Carl to our senior leadership team. He really has distinguished himself in his work in my 3 years, and I know it certainly predates my tenure with the district. But you know, I
Congratulations.
yeah, that yeah, absolutely.
3 hours later.
Steve.
She's got to get rid of her flip phone, man.
With that, Carl, you know, we will
sorry.
have more to say later, but I just, congratulations. We're really excited to have you. I think it's going to be an excellent addition. I think we have a very strong team in place, and I think you're a phenomenal addition that's only going to make us stronger. So thank you for your interest in expanding your horizons and your impact on our district.
Yeah, congratulations. When were you at Parma High?
2003, I was hired there. I was there for 9 years.
2003, okay. I just missed you by a few. All right, any other questions?
Congratulations, all.
Congratulations.
I would just like to point out that when he started at Parma Senior High, I was graduating from Valley Forge.
Yeah. I was leaving Mentor at that time, but anyway, congratulations again. Policies, Mrs. Carpus?
No.
No,
We have one more.
Have
Yeah,
one
Might
more.
I have one more?
Oh, there it is. Nope, I flipped the page. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. I move for the adoption of Resolution 2021-02-101, approval of the following classified exhibits: confirmation of classified appointments replacements, confirmation of change of classified assignments, approval of classified non-compensated leaves of absence, approval of classified stipend.
Second,
A motion second for 2021-02-101. Questions or comments? Mr. Nucio?
Mrs. Bratz,
Yes.
Mrs. Carpus,
yes.
Mr. Kreis,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Schweitzer.
Yes, 2021-02-101 has been approved. Is that all for,
Unless any other board members have anything to discuss this evening, that concludes human resources.
thank you very much, Mrs. Bratz. Now policies, Mrs. Carpus?
There are no policies tonight, but there was a policy committee meeting on February 17th, so we should be seeing several in the coming weeks.
Thank you very much. Any further information this evening requested by board members? Okay, no further questions or concerns to be read into the record, correct, Sean?
Correct.
Okay. That's a two-page flipper. All right, with that, then I move to adopt a resolution 2021-02-103 to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
A motion second for 2021-02-103. Questions or comments? Mr. Nucio?
Mr. Schweitzer,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mrs. Bratz,
Yes.
Mrs. Carpus. I think we lost, oh, she's still on.
Can
Mrs.
you-
Carpus,
Yes.
Okay,
Mr. Kreis.
Yes.
at all five.
Yep.
Okay. Resolution 2021-02-103 has been approved. This meeting is adjourned.